So registered retirement savings plans. Most people use them to save for retirement. It's fairly obvious by the title, I guess. There are a couple other perks to them that we'll talk about. But yeah, people ask me, I guess, why would I choose an RRSP? So basically, I usually tell people, if you are typically paying tax back to the government at tax time, you should get yourself an RRSP. Lots of people will set them up. Most people do monthly contributions because to keep, I guess it's easier to keep going each month and you don't have to worry about it. But there's lots of people who will set up RRSPs and just do a lump sum, you know, during that January, February time once they've talked to their accountant to find out if they possibly may owe tax. So that's a benefit to having an RRSP set up as well. You can go to your accountant. That's why they call it, you know, RRSP season. You have up until usually March 1st to finish your RRSPs for the last year for tax season. So a lot of people go to their accountant, say, hey, am I going to owe tax this year? And they'll say, yeah, you're going to owe $3,000. Go buy yourself some RRSPs. So as long as you have the contribution room, which we'll talk about, they're a good way to pay yourself instead of paying the government, I guess. And I know there are a lot of different views on RRSPs and RRSPs versus TFSAs and non-registered, but we're just going to go through, I guess, just RRSPs tonight and some of the reasons. So yeah, if you pay tax at tax time, an RRSP is a good option for you. If you make over $60,000 a year, typically I tell people to go with an RRSP as opposed to a TFSA. Again, if it fits them and it's right for them, but that's kind of my rule of thumb. Usually they're in a higher tax bracket, so they can use the tax deduction. So yeah, tax deductions, that's obviously I guess the biggest reason that people use RRSPs. So you get a tax deduction. It'll come as a little slip in the mail and it'll say this is how much you've deposited to your RRSP for the year. So that goes to your accountant and then that will decrease how much tax you pay at tax time. It basically just decreases your income. So if you've already paid tax, say on $100,000 and now you've put $5,000 to RRSPs, you've decreased your income to $95,000 but have still paid tax on that extra. So that's how you can possibly either get a refund or make up for if they haven't taken enough tax off. So that's your biggest reason. So like I say, if you are consistently paying money at tax time, an RRSP is a good thing to look at for you because, you know, you can pay yourself instead of paying the government. Put some money in there, decrease your income. You can contribute to a spouse, a common law RRSP. There's a couple different ways there. So if, you know, you want money to contribute to your RRSP, but say you don't have the contribution room, you can have a spousal RRSP where your spouse contributes and it comes off of their contribution room, but it still goes into your RRSP. So I guess something to think about there. You don't pay tax on the money in your RRSP until you start withdrawing it. So that's kind of one of the biggest things between an RRSP and a TFSA. TFSAs, there is no tax break. You don't get a deduction, but you don't pay tax when you pull it out. So RRSPs are nice in the sense that it deters people from taking money out. Tax-free savings can be very easy to get a hold of. So if that is your primary means of saving for retirement and it is nice and easily accessible and you keep pulling money out, I know how easy it is to spend that because it's kind of there. So yeah, tax-free savings can be used in different ways, but RRSP wise, you do get penalized if you take money out of your RRSP because they've already given you a tax break. So they're saying, okay, you didn't pay tax on that money when you put it into your RRSP. You are now taking it out, so we want our tax because government always wants their money. Yes, always. So, that's good and bad. If you're going to need to get to your RRSPs, then maybe that is not the right thing for you. But if you want to put money away and you want it, to come monthly out of sight, out of mind, and you don't want to be able to take money out, an RRSP is a better option for you because they're not as easily accessible. And lots of people, once they know they have to pay, say, 30% tax back to get that out, it stops them from taking it. And I'm not saying you can't, but they will tax you on it, absolutely. Now you can put in up to your contribution limit. So your contribution limit is 18% of your income of the previous year, or I believe 2017, the max was about $26,000. Yeah, $26,010 was your max for 2017. So you just need to be aware of what your contribution limit room is. And it will say on your notice of assessment, that's what the government sends you after you file your taxes. You'll get a nice, basically, summarization from the government. And on the bottom on one of those sheets, it will say, this is your contribution limit for 2018. So be very mindful of what that number is, because if you are over contributing to an RSP, they will penalize you. You can go $2,000 over. After that, they will penalize you, and you don't want to do that. So for a lot of people, if they're maxing out their RSPs, then they'll go to a TFSA and they'll try and max that out too. I know for a lot of people that's not feasible, but you do have both those options. So be very mindful of what that number is. And if you're making large, even monthly contributions, make sure you aren't going over your contribution limit. But yeah, RSPs are, like I said, they're easy to set up. You can definitely, if you don't have one and you're thinking, I need to get one, I want to put $100 a month away, nice and easy to set up, not too much paperwork, and you can start contributing. I know for me, I put my money away every month. It goes there, and it's just out of sight, out of mind. Then I don't have to worry. It grows, and compound interest is your friend. So if you're thinking, should I start today or should I start in 2 years? No brainer. Yeah, you can have an RSP basically as soon as you start earning income. I did actually read that you can have one at any time. You can get an RSP, but there's really no benefit to them until you start earning income. I did read a talk where they said, should I have an RSP and be contributing to that for my children, or get an RESP? But RESP, obviously there's grant money. So again, that's definitely the way to go if you're thinking about that, because unless your children are miraculous and making money at age 4, which I wish mine were, but they're not. Yeah, we won't talk about TFSAs though. So there are a couple of different programs within the RSP that also make them, I guess, feasible to some people, intriguing to some people, I guess I would say. So there's something called the Home Buyers Plan. So this program allows you to withdraw money from your RSP without being taxed. So if you are a first-time home buyer, so meaning if you have never bought a house, or if you have not had a house that you or your spouse have lived in within the last 4 years. So say you had sold your house in 2012 and now it's 2018 and you're buying a house again, you would be eligible for that first-time home buyer's plan if you did not own one in the interim, or if you are a first-time home buyer. You can take out up to $25,000 out of your RRSP to contribute to your down payment on your house. This is typically what people use it for, and you do not get penalized. You have up to 15 years to repay. You have, up to 15 years to repay that $25,000. And so that basically will just get worked into your taxes when you file them. So you either would, if you don't have any type of a refund to pay that, it'll either come out of your tax refund, or you may owe something to repay that each year. But you do not pay the tax upfront when you pull it out. So it's just worked into your tax return. Basically, when you pay it back, it gets claimed on there. So those repayments do not affect your contribution limit either. So they're just basically, they've already been taken into account when you contributed. But yeah, it's a really nice way, you know, if you're thinking, I want to save for retirement, but I also want to save for a house. You can kind of kill two birds with one stone here, and you still get interest on your money, and you're saving for retirement, right? And it forces you to put money back into that RRSP, so you're not just taking it out and then keeping it. Yeah. So there's another program also called the Lifelong Learning Plan, and that is another one that you can withdraw money out of your RSP. So that is for education purposes. So you must be enrolled on a full-time basis to a qualifying institution, and they do have a list of qualifying institutions. And you can take out up to $20,000 total, or $10,000 per year under this program. And you have up to 10 years to repay it. And so repayment basically works the same way as the Home Buyers Plan. So again, it's a nice way if you've started saving and you say, hey, I want to go back to school, you can take money out of your RSPs and go that way. Yeah, it's, you know, a couple nice programs that you don't have to worry about paying on taxes, but you can still repay into your RSPs. You don't have to worry about being taxed on when you take out your money, and you can still put money into your RSPs. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to do kind of a comparison for you guys. I guess regarding starting early on saving, like compound interest makes such a huge difference. But if you started sorry, saving at age 25, and you put aside $3,000 per year into an RSP for 10 years, and then you do not put any more money in, by the time you reach age 65, you'll have more than $63,000 on the $30,000 you invested. So that's a total more than $93,000, assuming, and that's only at a 3.25% annual return, which lots of investments can get you more than that typically. Now, let's say you put off putting any money into an RSP until you turn age 35. And then you put $3,000 a year in for 30 years, because now you've realized I need to catch up. By the time you get to age 65, you'll have put $90,000 of your own money in, and it'll grow to just over $153,000, assuming the same return, which means that you've basically earned about $63,000, which is the same as only putting in the money at age 25 for 10 years and not putting any more in. So again, compound interest makes a really big difference. And I guess compound interest, if people don't understand that, it's basically where interest builds on top of your interest. So you get interest in, say, January on your money, and then in February, you get interest on your interest and your contribution. So it grows, right? And it extrapolates, and that's where it comes into. Yeah, I just want you guys to really take, I guess, give thought to your retirement savings. Do you have a pension plan? Is it going to be enough? You know, if you do not have a pension plan, you need to start saving for retirement. I know, and I talk to a lot of farmers that say this too. They're like, well, we have all of our assets. We'll just sell them off. Will you? I guess that's the first question. You know, do you have children that you're going to want to gift things to? The land does not start sprouting money at age 65. I really wish it did, but I can promise you that doesn't happen. So, and I mean, if you've taken that into account, you know, maybe you can get enough rental income off your land, something like that. Or you are planning to just sell it all. You don't have anyone to take it over. Absolutely. But if not, start putting money into RSPs. Start putting money into a TFSA. Like, again, we'll talk about those next week. But saving for retirement is so important. And it doesn't have to be a lot. You know, people are like, I can't afford any more money. $100 a month. $100. I promise you that's probably more than your cell phone bill, because I know it's less than my cell phone bill. And I guess that's what you need to think about. You know, I honestly worry whether CPP and old age will still be there by the time I retire. And I know a lot of pensioners that are living paycheck to paycheck. Absolutely. They are living month to month on their pension income, and it is barely enough to get by. And I know that that's an unfortunate reality nowadays. People still have debt so far, you know, into their 60s, into their 70s. How do you retire if you still have a $100,000 mortgage? So things to think about. And I mean, there's a lot of people that are still helping pay for their children when they're in retirement. And I don't feel like that's something you should take into account in your retirement, but it is a reality. So, and I don't want you enabling them. We won't go down that path. But anyways, it's a reality and it can happen. So I just want you to be aware of retirement, and it will come faster than you think. And the problem, and I guess it's a good problem to have, but nowadays people are living to be 90, 95. So you retire at 65, that's 35 years. That's almost the entire time you've worked for. So do you have money to pay for that? Because we don't want to be working until we're 75 or 80. And I see people working till they're 75 or 80. It makes me very sad. It makes me very sad when somebody's helping me and they're like 75 years old, and I just wish they were enjoying Arizona, or, you know, they've worked hard their whole life, you know, but you need to invest now. And, you know, and if you have RSPs, check your statements, find out how much money you're making on them. You know, if you're making 2%, let's talk. You know, I will never promise that I will make you more money, but I can tell you about funds that have far outperformed that for many years. So, you know, check, be knowledgeable. How much are you making for interest? Because, you know, there are ones that will easily make 7, 8, 9% a year. That is definitely possible. So if you are in one that is making you 1, 2, 3, 4%, yeah, things to think about. You know, if your money's in there, at least get it making some